Welcome to a big summer book haul. The bookshop that I explored at the beginning of this video is called Clevobooks in the arcade in downtown Cleveland. Clevobooks offers a wide selection of translated books from authors past and present. There's a really great range of authors represented at the store. Not only is this shop supporting authors by featuring their books, but they also are in the process of translation. While I was there browsing, I actually overheard the shop owner working on a translation with an immersion author, and I could hear her suggesting word options. If you're interested, you can support them. Check out their website, which is clevobooks.com, and see what different titles they have featured for this month. While I was there, I did of course pick up a book, and that is called The Unbreakable Heart of Olivia Denaro. This book is written by Viola Ardone and is translated to English by Clarissa Botsford. This book is a historical fiction, and it's set in Sicily during the 1960s. In this story, we're following the title character, Olivia, who is 15 years old. She loves to run, she's very carefree and high-spirited. To Olivia, becoming a woman growing up means denying herself as a person. And though she knows that she can't stop growing up, she still is resisting the future. An unwanted courtship will force Olivia to fight for her right to independence. While America and Europe are both in the throes of major social change, Sicily is still locked into laws that keep it bound to the past. It has rigid traditions, including the custom of futina, in which a kidnapping could be disguised as an elopement. This custom is not only culturally acceptable, but it's also part of Sicily's laws. Olivia's tale is based on a true story that would ultimately rock Italy and capture the attention of not only the Pope, but the Italian president and nations beyond. This book is my pick for the Summer's Covered Readathon for True Story Space, which is to read a book that has true story or based on a true story on the cover. I'm looking forward to reading this one this summer, and I will be sharing my thoughts with you soon. The next book is my Book of the Month pick for the month of July, and that is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I have not read anything by this author before, but she's very beloved in the romance genre space. I'm looking forward to seeing if I like her story and her writing style. This is a lighthearted romance set in New York City, where we're following the main character of Sadie Montgomery. One minute she was celebrating her life-changing status of being nominated as a finalist for the North American Portrait Society, and the next minute she is in hospital receiving the diagnosis of temporary, hopefully, face blindness. She can see, but people's faces appear to her as a jumbled puzzle of shapes. The synopsis says, imagine if you were trying to read a book upside down in another language. This is Sadie's new reality with every face she sees. While Sadie is struggling to grapple with her new health condition, she's also dealing with some family issues and trying to care for her beloved dog Peanut, all the while holding on to her artistic ambitions. When not one, but two love interests enter the picture, she wonders if they're just a distraction from all of her other priorities. And she is kind of lacking the perception to be able to figure out what's important, what isn't. If only her life were a little bit more in focus, Sadie might be able to find her way. And I think it'll be a great light summertime read in amongst some of my other deeper, more heavier stories that I'm reading this summer. Something I'm really happy about is that a lot of the books in this haul I got used either at a library book sale, at a university book sale, on the shelves at my local indie, and I'm excited to share those with you next. The first one I want to talk about is City of Brass by Shannon Chakraborty. This is the first book in a historical fantasy trilogy that's set in 18th century Egypt. Our main character, Nari, is a con woman of unsurpassed talent, but she doesn't really believe in the kind of powers that you would attach to magic. She knows the tricks and sleights of hand that she needs to steal from the wealthy Ottoman nobles, but she doesn't believe in anything beyond that. But then, on one of her cons, Nari accidentally summons a mysterious jinn warrior, and she has to accept that the magical world that she's heard about since she was a child is, in fact, real. The warrior tells Nari a new tale, that of a legendary city called Diavabad, which lies beyond the mysteriously hot and monster-infested deserts. It's a mythical and legendary city of brass, and Nari decides to set off to find the city. But in that city, behind the gilded gates, old resentments are simmering. When Nari decides to enter the city, she discovers that true power is not only fierce but also brutal. Even that magic can't shield her from the dangerous web of court politics. There's a reason that they say be careful what you wish for. If you watched my review for The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, you know that I was still looking forward to reading another book by the author, and so that's why I decided to give the Diavabad series a try. If you're still looking for a book with a yellow cover for the Summer is Covered bingo board, this next one could do the trick. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I read this book several years ago, I gave it 4 stars, and I was excited to find it at a library book sale. The setting of this story is in modern day and is of course a bookstore that is open 24 hours around the clock in San Francisco, California. The teller of our story is Clay Janin. He's given up his job as a web drone to work the night shift at Mr. Penumbra's mysterious bookstore. Clay came across the job listing quite by chance, but his skills of curiosity and scrambling up ladders like a monkey is coming in clutch. After just a few days at the store, Clay realizes that something is happening. Several customers come into the store repeatedly, but they never buy anything. Instead, they borrow obscure volumes from the far corners of the store. This is all part of some strange arrangement made with the shop owner, Mr. Penumbra. Clay is suspecting that the shop is merely a cover for some strange, larger operation. And in true Newt fashion, he begins an analysis on what's happening, and he pulls in some of his other friends to help. Their findings will expose secrets that go far beyond the walls of the little bookstore and send Clay on a quest where he'll not only find some answers, but maybe some romance too. It's been a while since I've read this one, and I'm looking forward to giving it a reread soon. This next one is really quite easy to find in a used bookstore setting, and that is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Dear Bear really persuaded me how much she enjoyed the writing, how emotional a story it was, and I thought that it probably would be a really good one to pick up before summer's end, and it was a steal of a deal at 50 cents. This story is set in South Carolina in 1964, and our main character, Lily Owen's life has been shaped around her mother's tragic death. Lily has been raised by a fierce-hearted black woman named Rosaline, who has become her stand-in mother. When Rosaline accidentally insults 3 of the town's biggest racists, Lily decides to spring them both free. They escape together to Tiburon, South Carolina, a town that holds secrets from Lily's mother's past. They are taken in by an eccentric trio of sister beekeepers, and Lily is also introduced to the mesmerizing world of bees and honey. I think that this book is going to be a feminist tale that makes me cry. That is my prediction going into it, not knowing much else, but I think it's going to be a really good read. Let me know if you've read this one. The next book that I found is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, and this is the first in a series of books called the Neapolitan novels. Because this is a book set in Italy, I thought I would use it for the space vacation plans on the summer bingo board, because I would love to go to Italy someday. Elena Ferrante is one of Italy's most acclaimed authors, and at the center of this series are 2 friends, Elena and Lila. Although the synopsis describes the 2 main characters as friends, their behavior toward one another is more of rivals. They have some very petty disagreements with one another, and I get the feeling that they're kind of in fierce competition with one another for most of their lives. This one I also got for a really good price. I think it was 50 cents, so I'm not going to be too disappointed if I don't love it. After listening to Books Unbound 200th episode, Raylene and Ariel were talking about how they buddy read this book and their thoughts on it. I'm already a little bit nervous about what I'll think about this one based on the cover. There are alt designs that I like better. I did hear, however, that the author's writing style is very beautiful. I also like the idea of a neighborhood that's changing along with the relationship of 2 girls as they grow up, and that alone makes me want to give it a chance. This next book, I have to say, I will not be reading until September, and that is because it is called Autumn by Ali Smith. This is the first in a series of 4 books called The Seasonal Quartet, and each story is very different. The characters and their motivations are very unique. The back of this copy says, Autumn, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. 2 old friends Daniel, a centenarian, and Elizabeth, born in 1984, look to both the future and the past as the United Kingdom stands divided by a historic, once-in-a-generation summer. Love is won, love is lost. Hope is hand in hand with hopelessness. The seasons roll round as ever. A luminous meditation on the meaning of richness and harvest and worth. It casts an eye over our own time. Who are we? What are we made of? Shakespearean Jeu d'esprit, Keatsian melancholy, the sheer bright energy of 1960s pop art, wide-ranging in timescale and light-footed through histories, Autumn is an unforgettable story about aging and time and love and stories themselves. That's kind of a lot to promise for a book. I've heard that of each of the 4 season books, Autumn is many people's favorites, and I wonder if you read it, if you agree. One of the spaces on the bingo board that I was really excited about is the Cool Shade space, and that invites you to ask an indie bookseller to recommend a book for you to read. And I talked with a bookseller at Maxbacks in Cleveland, and they recommended to me The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. This is my first Octavia Butler, and what I've heard about this particular story is that it is almost eerie in some of the parallels that it has to present day, and so much time has changed. There are just a lot of things that happen in this story that do happen or could happen today, and that makes me a little bit excited to read it, also a little bit anxious to read it, if that makes sense. Kind of a weird combination. I have several reader friends who love Octavia Butler, so I'm looking forward to giving this a try. The next book that I picked up is a nonfiction, and it is called The Night is Normal by Alicia Britt Cole. I'm still reading through Alicia's earlier book, Anonymous. If you are familiar with the New Testament of the Christian Bible, Jesus' ministry starts when he is 33. We don't see what kind of preparation is taking place, what types of conversations and miracles are happening before Jesus publicly starts his ministry at a wedding feast. So the message of that book is about how in life, oftentimes the seasons where we feel hidden or like the things that we're doing don't matter, they are still seen. There is no real life or waiting for real life to happen. We're in the main storyline of our lives, even if we feel like we're not actively where we want to be. We are still in a season that is preparing us for the next one, and we're actively being faced with choices and experiences that are part of the main storyline. If you are a Christian, you believe that your life is meant to point to the life of Jesus. I love her writing style. I love her insights. It's very approachable yet very deep, and so I had pre-ordered this one, which just came out. The Night is Normal is specifically about the times in our lives where we feel disillusioned or distant, or like we're going through a lot of suffering and wondering like why terrible things are happening in the world. We're not feeling the answers that we're looking for in that moment. Those periods of life, they're okay to recognize, and it's okay to experience those emotions and that distance. Both of her books are fairly short. This is a little bit bigger than Anonymous. I would highly recommend, if you like to read some Christian nonfiction every now and again, there is a lot in there for you to unpack. The next 2 books I have mentioned in other videos, but I still count them as part of this book haul, and those are The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence and The Will of the Many by James Islington. They are first books in new fantasy series. I don't normally like to read in publishing pace. I don't like waiting for a full series to get out, because then I'm going to have to inevitably reread, recap in order to read the next book. But I made an exception. I mentioned in my mid-year book tag that I'm particularly looking forward to reading this one because it is one of Patrick Leo's favorite books for this year. It could end up being his top favorite. We'll have to wait and see. The inside flap of this one says, "The Catalan Republic, the hierarchy, may rule the world now, but they do not know everything. I tell them my name is Vistelimus. I tell them I was orphaned after a tragic accident 3 years ago, and that good fortune alone has led to my acceptance into their most prestigious school. I tell them that once I graduate, I will gladly join the rest of civilized society in allowing my strength, my drive, and my focus what they call will to be leached away and added to the power of those above me, as millions already do, as all must eventually do. I tell them that I belong, and they believe me. But the truth is, I have been sent to the academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart, and that I will never ever cede my will to the empire that executed my family. To survive, though, I will have to rise through the academy's ranks. I will have to smile and make friends and pretend to be one of them and win. Because if I cannot, then those who want to control me, who know my real name, will no longer have any use for me. And if the hierarchy finds out who I truly am, it will kill me. It's been a while since I've read a summary like that is written from the character's voice, so that's kind of cool. I think I'm really gonna enjoy my time with this one, and I can't wait to read it. I mentioned before the book that wouldn't burn. This one is set in a mysterious library where a community lives, and there is a magic that has to do with books. It's a darker toned fantasy in which the book in question can either endow magical abilities or it can take a life. That's pretty much all I know going into this one. I've tried to keep it pretty spoiler free for myself because I really want to be surprised by the twists and turns that this plot takes, but that one I'm also very excited to read soon. The first fantasy series book that I have hauled recently is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I am really looking forward to reading from this author. I am super excited about this series. The series is called The Dandelion Dynasty. The edition that I'm familiar with is a helmet that has a dandelion growing out of it and has such high ratings and high reviews, but these paperback UK editions are really stunning, and I like the layered illustration work in here, potentially like watercolor illustration, if not gouache. I think that the other one is very iconic, but I think that showing the setting that the fantasy takes place is like 9 times out of 10 gonna make me want to read the series more than just like an iconic single image that is meant to replicate the story. I've heard that this one is sad and funny and powerful, and that it has some really great fantasy politics, which is definitely a pro in my book. This is also author Ken Liu's first book, and he has written so much since then, but I can't wait to get into this world, and I'm excited to see what it holds. So that's a wrap on my summer book haul. I'd love to know if you've read any of these, what are your thoughts, and which ones should I prioritize on my TBR? If you've watched this far and you don't know what to comment, go ahead and comment a little stack of books emoji. This is probably the last book haul for a little bit, and the reason why is not what you might think. Number one, it's because I'm running out of shelf space. Number two, I have a really good amount of books on my summer TBR, and I'm also enjoying reading through a big book, Anna Karenina. But the biggest reason is because I'm going to be going on vacation at the end of August. Jeff and I are planning our route near some really cool looking bookstores, and I'd like to be able to have some book buying budget to work with during that trip. But if you'd like to join me and read a big book this summer, there's still plenty of time left. Just stick around and click to watch that next video. Even the cleverest of schemes. Found a spider and it has come down in front of my camera. You can be there for now, I guess, as long as you don't go anywhere. To see if I resonate a little more with this particular character's medal.